Hey guys, Happy New Year and welcome to 2026. I'm your host, Tony J. If you're new here, make sure you hit the like. Welcome to Media Talks TV and welcome to the first segment of one of my newest segments called Travel Talks. And, I wanted to start off the new year with really a clean slate and delve into some topics that I'm sure, we've discussed in the past, but not necessarily media directed. I will be posting up content here and there concerning the media. I'm still doing media talks, but I wanted to veer off and talk strictly about the travel space. I want this new video to mark the beginning of this new segment that I'm creating called Travel Talks. Now, what do I mean when I say travel talks? We talk about travel, we talk about what's going on in the news with travel, and also talk about travel around the entire blogosphere or basically social media because we haven't had really an honest space to talk about travel and to discuss travel, especially um, black travel. And there's going to be some controversial topics that I'm going to bring up that deal directly with black travel because I feel like now is the time to really focus on African Americans really getting out of the United States. And I've thought about this for a while, and it's been heavy on my mind that, you know, you're seeing a lot of Gen Z and a lot of millennials considering leaving the United States. It hasn't caught the news yet, but black expats most certainly are wanting to leave the United States because of its history and because of the legacy and the fact that we're just merely surviving in a system that wasn't really truly built for us as African Americans. And the truth is, you got black people going back to Africa, you got people going to Ghana, Nairobi, Kenya, and Johannesburg, South Africa. Black people repatriating back to Africa. But then you also have young people considering living in places like Southeast Asia, Bali, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, the Maldives, the Seychelles, all finding a different life that is completely opposite of what American life is. And, you know, I often talk about the passport bros and what they represent. And it is time that the passport bros really start thinking about turning a corner on what we used to do when we travel. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to have a good time. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy women. But The problem that I often find, as I said in previous videos, is there's too much emphasis amongst the brothers on the women and not on building a legacy overseas. And this one topic I'm going to jump into is, I'm going to start this sermon off as are you traveling to save your soul, or are you traveling for hoes? Because passport bros think legacy, not lust. And so much of us as black men, we let lust get in the way of building a legacy. And we can't do that no more. And I know I can't do that no more. I need to focus, me being 35 years old, I'm wanting and desiring different things. One is to start my own family. Two is to have real estate overseas that could make me residual income. And the final one is to build a self sustaining business that could afford me the lifestyle to be overseas and not have to depend on a job. And that's what I'm truly focused on. So, 2026, this is what I consider the lock in year. Focusing on building a legacy, focusing on building a business, focusing on self development, and also spirituality. And what I want to ask you, brothers, what is it that you truly want in this life? Because, of course, sex is an endless pursuit, it doesn't fulfill the soul. Food is an endless pursuit, but it doesn't fulfill, it fills your belly. But then are you going to be satisfied? Are you going to be content? At what point do we become content with life and not just constantly chasing something? Because the spiritual alignment is not there when you travel. You travel for a reason. And my main focus is to travel for spiritual transformation, to transform my life into something different than what I've always been accustomed to. You know, a lot of us have been in the hood. A lot of us have seen the hood and seen what it's all about. Spiritually, the hood is draining. It's spiritually draining. Who wants to be around row homes, burned out row homes, battered, beat up public housing complexes? You can't take pride in that shit anymore. And why should you? Every day you work, but when we make money, most of it goes to stuff that is temporary in nature. A car depreciates, loses value. TVs lose value. Everything in this life is temporary. Some of us may die one day, but do you want your last days to be, I got my house, I got my car? Or do you want it to be that I lived a truly transformative life? Something that I experienced something. I paid for this experience. I went to this place. I got to see Egypt. I got to see and experience Africa. I got to go to different places that nobody else could go to. That's what I'm talking about. The experience to transform your life. Nobody asked us this question. Our parents didn't ask us this question when we were younger. Some of us get up early in the morning because our parents told us go get a job, go stack up them benefits, and then retire with a little nest egg. And then when you get that nest egg, what happens after 60 years? You don't get to enjoy it because your health is gone. Your back is in pain because you pull a disc from the hard work that you've been doing. Some of y'all are truck drivers sitting 12 to 15 hours a day driving. And what for? And I know that we can enjoy life. And it should be about black men learning to thrive instead of survive. And we're no longer in the civil rights era no more. And a lot of your baby boomer parents, they want to push this negative energy of put your head down and survive. And we've been doing that for so long. And we've been following this script for a very long time that I thought, even with me when I got out of high school and college, I thought that was the right thing to do. But then I seen the older people around me dying, early ages, working 30 years, dead at 65, dead at 75, dead at 45. At what point do you, as a man, get to enjoy life? To tell your family, I want to go somewhere different. And this is one of the primary reasons why I'm starting this segment because I want to have a bunch of lives. I want to do some lives. And I want, people to chime in and have a conversation. We need to have this conversation as black men. The passport bro movement is not what everybody thinks it is. Are there some men that chase women overseas? Yeah. But that's not all of us. But we need to get a tight rein over the information that we put out on social media because then it defines us. And that's why I'm asking the question, do you want to travel to build a legacy, or are you traveling for lust? Are you traveling to to transform your soul, or are you just traveling for hopes? Because I can tell you, the hoes are always going to be there. The women are always going to be overseas. But if you're doing more than just the endless pursuit of sexual gratification, it's not going to do you no good. It'll fill you up, but it won't fulfill your soul. And that's one of the main reasons why I want to be documenting my my journey and my transformation in the travel space. And I want to have conversations with you. I want to talk to you directly. I'm going to talk to my subscribers directly, and I'm going to put out certain subjects for you to think about. I'm also going to be talking about personal development because I think that's missing in the travel space. Black men need personal development, personal transformation. When I think about it, I'm in the stage of my life where I'm trying to transform myself into a different type of man because the one I was at 20, I was still trying to find myself. And I'm trying to push forward in my 30s to be the better version of myself. When I went out on my first trip out the country, I got there, but I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for the cultural nuances and the differences. There was no guidebook for me to talk about and guide me through those personal transformations. I had to figure this shit out through trial and error. But with this platform, I don't want anybody to go through what I went through because I knew I wasn't ready to travel, but I had to take that risk and get out there. When you start seeing your friends and your family die off, you know, you start to wonder, am I next? And if I'm next, and if I don't make it, I'll at least know that I got to enjoy this earth before I left it. I'm not waiting on anybody to give me permission to enjoy life. I think I waited long enough. I waited. Everybody says, the boomers, they all say, wait your turn, pay your dues, and then enjoy life. No, we ain't got that type of time. We don't have this type of time to wait for another election, for another season, for whatever. You do it now. You don't wait on fate to give you permission to live your life. So much of us, we worry about money. We worry about all this shit, accumulating shit to impress our friends that don't really mean shit to us. Because we trying to get better opinions and those things become an extension of us. And then we become enslaved to those things because we have a tight grip on it. And when you think about consumerism and how it's got us trapped in debt in the United States, now you realize we're playing into the same script that our parents are playing into because our parents gave us the most bad habits and toxic ideas about life. If you were a child in the 80s and 90s, your idea of life was accumulating shit, buying the next toy, buying the next CD, concert ticket, everything about consumerism, affluenza, everything, consuming shit. That was the American way. It stimulates the economy. Da 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 da. And then we had all of that. And then through consumerism, we became debt slaves. Our cars that we brought to impress our friends, they didn't last. The houses that we had couldn't maintain them. So we had to refinance on them. Some still paying off a house and trying to maintain it and can't afford to maintain it. Brag about our car, we brag about our house, but then we don't have any true freedom to move about the country, to go different places and experience different things. And that's the real true shift that's happening in America. America is becoming and de-emphasizing consumerism. And that's an interesting thing because now we have Gen Z that's leading the torch on all of this and leading us to think a different way and moving away from this idea of buying stuff and accumulating stuff, having the biggest house or having the biggest car. Because at the end of the day, it's all about experiences. And I want to experience this world before I leave it. I want to know that I can go somewhere and spiritually cleanse my soul. One of my biggest desires is to go to Thailand. And I'm trying to work very hard to get to that goal and also build my own business, have an automated business that could run on its own and be able to focus on writing my books and writing my blogs and practicing meditation and yoga. That's the ultimate dream. That's the ultimate thing that I have in mind as far as a legacy. And that's why I asked the brothers here who have subscribed to my channel, what is the goals that you have for 2026? Is it to keep chasing lust or do you want spiritual transformation? Because the people that want spiritual transformation, those are the ones that's going to win in this movement and being able to reconnect with the spirit of the self. I don't care what you believe in or who you pray to, but there's got to be something more than just women that is leading you to travel. We all talk about we want to, change our lives and have better lives, but we don't stay in a country or a destination no more than maybe 2 weeks or a week at most. So how do we get to a point where we're self-sustainable to where we don't have to depend on a bunch of corporate jobs and a bunch of 9 to 5 type jobs? to give us the lifestyle that we truly want. Welcome to 2026 and welcome to Travel Talks. Leave a comment in the description box and make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. Welcome to my new show.